Have you ever felt an unseen presence around you? A chill down your spine with no apparent reason? Let's delve into the first of our top 5 ghost encounters, a terrifying experience of an unseen presence that shook a family to its core. Imagine this. A family excited about their new beginning moves into a quaint old house. It's a charming place with a history that adds to its allure. Little did they know the history was more than just brick and mortar. It was alive, in a way they never could have anticipated. No sooner had they unpacked their boxes, the house began to reveal its true character. It started with small, unexplained noises. A creak here, a thud there, easily dismissed as the sounds of an old house settling into its bones. But then, the inexplicable began to happen. Objects began moving on their own. A picture frame tilted to one side, a vase moved a few inches from its original position, a chair rocked back and forth with no one in it. What if you heard a voice from the past, echoing through the halls of your home? Imagine this. You're alone. The silence around you is as thick as fog, and then a murmur, a whisper in the quiet, a conversation from a time long gone. This is the haunting tale of our second ghost encounter. Our protagonist, let's call him John, was a man of logic, a man of reason. He didn't believe in the supernatural, nor did he have time for ghost stories. But when he moved into his new house, a quaint little cottage tucked away in the heart of the city, things started to change. At first it was just the whispers. He'd hear them when he was alone, usually at night. They were faint, almost inaudible, like a radio playing in a distant room. He dismissed it as the wind, or the house settling, or maybe even his own imagination. But then, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. He could hear words, phrases, even entire conversations, but there was no one there, no one but him. Curiosity piqued, John decided to dig into the history of his house. What he found was chilling. The house was once owned by a wealthy businessman named Albert, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Albert was never seen again, but it was rumored that he could be heard. His voice, they said, lingered long after he was gone, echoing through the halls of his once beloved home. Suddenly, the whispers made sense. The spectral voice that John had been hearing was Albert, speaking from beyond the grave. It was a voice from the past, a voice that was crying out for something, searching for something. But what? What could a ghost possibly want? This is the mystery that John found himself entangled in, a voice from the past, echoing through his home, haunting his every waking moment. It was a reminder that sometimes the past refuses to be forgotten, that sometimes the dead have unfinished business. The voice from the past was seeking something, and it wasn't going to rest until it found it. Could you imagine waking up to a ghostly apparition standing at the foot of your bed? It's a question that sends shivers down the spine. The third encounter we're exploring today is just that, a chilling tale of a spectral figure that appeared from the shadows one fateful night. Our protagonist, we'll call him John, was nestled in his bed, lost in the realm of dreams. Suddenly, he was jolted awake by an unexplainable chill that swept across the room. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, he noticed a figure standing at the foot of his bed. His heart pounded in his chest as he tried to make sense of this disturbing sight. The figure was ethereal, almost translucent, like a wisp of smoke caught in the moonlight. It was tall and slender, draped in what seemed like an age-old gown, its face obscured by a veil of darkness. But what was most unsettling were the eyes, two luminescent orbs that seemed to pierce the night with their otherworldly glow. John lay frozen, his breath caught in his throat. He could feel the figure's gaze on him, a cold, penetrating stare that seemed to see right through him. Fear wrapped itself around him like a shroud as he stared back at the spectral figure, too terrified to move, too terrified to even blink. The figure didn't move, didn't make a sound, it just stood there, watching. The night seemed to stretch on endlessly, every tick of the clock echoing loudly in the silence. John could feel his heart thumping against his ribs, the only sound in the otherwise quiet room. It was a moment that felt like an eternity. Finally, as the first rays of dawn began to creep into the room, the figure began to fade. It dissolved into the morning light, leaving behind an eerie stillness. John was left breathless, his mind reeling from the terrifying encounter. The ghostly apparition was a haunting reminder of a tragedy that once unfolded in the very room. It was a chilling encounter that John would never forget, a spectral figure that would forever lurk in the corners of his mind. What if a spirit took over your body, controlling your every move and thought? Imagine for a moment being trapped within your own skin, a passenger in your own life. This is the chilling tale of our fourth encounter, a horrifying narrative of possession that will send shivers down your spine. Our protagonist, let's call him John, was an average man. He lived an ordinary life, until one fateful day, he suddenly found himself caught in an extraordinary situation. A spirit, a malevolent entity, had taken residence within him. It was as if a shadow had befallen his soul, casting a dark veil over his very existence. John's behavior began to change drastically. He would often speak in languages he'd never learned, display strength far beyond his physical capabilities, and his eyes would turn a chilling, icy blue. His loved ones watched in horror as this once gentle soul turned into something they could hardly recognize, something that was not John. The spirit inside John was relentless, controlling his every action. It was as if it was playing a cruel game, a puppeteer pulling the strings of a human marionette. But John was not ready to surrender. He fought back, attempting to regain control over his own body, but the spirit was powerful, and it seemed to feed off John's resistance, growing stronger with each passing day. With no other alternative, John's family sought the help of an exorcist. The process was grueling, a battle of wills between the living and the dead. The exorcist, armed with faith and determination, fought against the invading spirit, banishing it back to where it came from. The exorcism was a success, but the victory was bittersweet. John was finally free, but the experience had left him scarred. He was no longer the man he used to be. He was a survivor, a warrior who had faced the darkest corners of the spirit world and emerged victorious. The spirit had been banished, but the scars of the possession remained. This tale serves as a stark reminder of the unseen world that exists parallel to ours, a world that can sometimes cross over with chilling consequences. Can you fathom living with a poltergeist, an entity capable of moving objects and causing physical harm? Imagine, if you will, an unseen force that can not only play with your things but also pose a physical threat to you. That's the reality of our final encounter, a chilling tale of life with a poltergeist. Picture this, a peaceful house, ordinary in every sense, until one day, things begin to change. Items start moving by themselves, as if guided by an invisible hand. A cup slides across the table, a book drops off a shelf, a chair shifts position. These initially harmless incidents soon escalate into a spectacle of flying objects, creating a whirlwind of chaos. But a poltergeist is no mere prankster. It's a malevolent entity that can inflict harm. The terror intensifies as the entity advances from moving objects to physical attacks. Scratches appear on the residents' bodies, unexplainable and painful. Sleep becomes a distant memory as fear becomes the constant companion. The house, once a sanctuary, transforms into a battleground. The residents, driven to their wits' end, decide to confront the entity. A showdown ensues, a terrifying face-off against an enemy unseen but felt, its presence undeniable. The air is thick with tension and fear, but also determination. The residents, armed with their courage and desperation, manage to reclaim their home. The ordeal ends, but not without leaving its scars. The poltergeist may have been banished, but its memory lingers, casting a long shadow over the house and its inhabitants. The echoes of the chaos it caused remain, a chilling reminder of the terror it once induced. The poltergeist had been dealt with, but its reign of terror left an indelible mark on those who encountered it. An ordinary house, a terrifying entity, and a battle for reclaiming peace. This was no ordinary encounter. It was a chilling brush with the unknown, a test of courage in the face of unfathomable fear.